Greetings, salutations, and good now. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Major, doing it major. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Sun in Gemini. We're saying bye to the Taurus energy and hello to the Gemini energy. All right, so we have a few stuff that we need to cover off the top. When you think about Gemini or Sun in Gemini, we get a bit more playful, social, witty, humorous, but that's just on the surface level, because on a deeper level, the Sun deals with our ego, our identity, our life force, what we are consciously aware of, our purpose, okay, and how we do things. It's how a person does what they do. Now, we have other planets that influence us greatly. For example, the moon is why you would do something. Mercury is how you think, how you process information, how you relate that information, how you communicate. We got Venus that deals with, how you attract love and beauty, what you're willing to sacrifice or compromise to get what you want. We have Mars that is quite aggressive, so it deals with how you go for your passions and motivations and how you pursue things. We got Jupiter and Saturn and all of the rest planets. But today's video, we're going to be focusing on the Sun, how you do things. Okay, so now that we have the overstanding of Sun, let's talk about Gemini, which is the third zodiac sign. Mutable air, being mutable, being flexible, being adaptable, being versatile to other people's ideas, other people's way of communicating, different information, different perspective, different angles, being curious, and having that exchange of information. Okay, so this is a beautiful sign for us to switch things up and just do things in a different way, approach our goals and our objectives from just a different angle. Okay, and be more understanding of how people would receive you, be more understanding of other people's ideas and perspectives, and use that as a learning experience so you could become better and stronger. So let's talk more about Gemini, because the rulership and the dignities say a whole lot. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, again, the planet of thought, thinking and communicating, intelligence, messages, the exchange thereof of those information and data and even goods, right? Speech, learning, travel. In anatomy, deals with your nervous system, just to throw that out there. And so because Mercury rules Gemini, and Mercury is that fast moving sign, Mercury operates naturally in Gemini. Okay, so that's its home sign, where it's witty, curious, mobile, and able to connect with others. And so Sun is not necessarily ruled by the sign. I think Sun does well here, okay, but it's not in its natural or native placement. And so we have to express ourselves using words, using our thoughts, using our ideas, and also being, mutable or changeable, meaning we kind of get out of our comfort zone for the sake of achieving our goals and still being, cordial with others or with the world. Okay, so the Sun in Gemini is not your identity or a fixed identity, but it's just a modification, to speak, how you're going to do things. Okay, if you look at the symbol of the Gemini sign, you could see it's the twins. And so it represents duality, it represents conversation, it represents contrast, mirrors, reflecting different thoughts and ideas, having different choices, different perspectives, and overall just showing us that there are two sides or multiple sides to a story, and that the world is not necessarily black or white or just our opinion, but there's a multitude of ideas and perspectives that we could learn from, again, to grow, learn, and be able to just live and lead a better life. So the Gemini energy is quite brilliant, quite funny, quite youthful, clever, and just mentally alive. Think about mental stimulation. But on a negative side, it could get quite crazy. So let's go over some of the positive attributes of Gemini, and then we're going to put everything well, we're going to do the negative and then put everything all together. So the positive attributes of the Gemini zodiac sign, quite curious, right? And that curiosity leads them to, this search of knowledge, this search of connecting, this search of relating. And so you gain knowledge, you gain wisdom, you gain experiences, makes you overall intelligent. With all of those interactions and everything that you learn, you could be quite witty, makes you adaptable and quite capable of navigating different situations and circumstances. And if you're dealing with other people, then you could be quite social, you could be good at networking, quick thinking, good with your words, open to learning, open to teaching and sharing ideas with others, and able to just change your perspective or the way how you do things. So that's the positive attributes. The negative side of it is that, again, Gemini, mutable ears. So the ears here, there, and everywhere, scattered, restless, inconsistent, maybe a bit overstimulated or seem distracted because you have so much ideas. Maybe you're too smart for your own good because these ideas are not really based and rooted in reality. And so it could lead to you, sharing lies or propaganda or, deceit, and maybe just being too addicted to getting information but avoiding wisdom. Okay, the information is not useful to you. And so the shadow side of the Gemini is basically a lack of intelligence. The positive side, you have intelligence, you have all of these experiences, but on the negative side is like you having all of these interactions and thoughts and, conversations, but for no purpose. And so when we combine sun, which is your actions, how you do things, your identity and ego, with Gemini, we could see that what you do, how you do things could become a bit more flexible, adaptable, versatile to different angles and different ways of doing what you already do. Okay, so let's say you're into music, okay? You're making songs, maybe during the Sun in Gemini season, you're a bit influenced to make a song in a different type of way. Maybe go to a different studio, try a different technique, a different microphone. And so you do what you do in a different type of way. We express ourselves more through our ideas, our thoughts, the questions that we ask, how, we conversate, and our social interactions. And so for some people, it may be comfortable, some people, it may be not so comfortable, depending on what house this is in. But overall, Sun in Gemini is good for storytelling, getting across messages, being a good student, or being a good teacher, tapping into your journalistic attributes of being observant and taking in information. Again, if you have a wealth of information or just approach things from a different perspective, people could find you humorous, witty or funny. Um, Again, you could be a bit more social, so good for networking, trading, and just switching up your pattern and doing things in a different type of way. Okay, so we have a lot of positive attributes like being able to communicate clearer, being a bit more curious, being mentally flexible, or overall more flexible to new ideas and different ways of moving through this life, and just having a stronger capacity for learning. But on the shadow side, this Gemini season, we're going to be prone to a lot of distractions. And so, scattered focus, overthinking, talking without listening, being restless or inconsistent, gossiping, or just being overall all over the place, too mutable, okay, too flexible, too adaptable. And so you're getting nothing done purposeful. All right. So the main message is that Gemini teaches us where our actions, okay, could be a bit scattered, where our mind is a bit scattered, and where we need to learn and where we need to be wise. Wisdom can open a lot of doors for us, okay? And so during this Gemini season, again, just approaching different people, situations, circumstances from a different angle, from a different perspective. Okay. We need to be learning widely, speaking clearly, and be staying curious. However, don't lose ourselves in all of the noise that's going to be happening. Okay, so as the moon slides into Gemini, you got to be careful of what you're curious of, you know what I'm saying, and who is curious of you. This could be a good time for people to become more curious of you. And again, just a different time to take different perspectives and angles and be mutable and flexible and adaptable to different people, places, circumstances, and situations. All right, major farewell until we meet or greet again, because we're at the end of the video. Drop a comment down below and let me know what your zodiac sign, what house is in, because in the next video, we're going to be doing Sun in Gemini through the 12 houses. All right, see you there.